What does it take to stand unarmed against a loaded gun and turn the tide in 60 seconds? The evening air in Crestwood was thick with tension, the kind that clings to your skin like damp fog. Mayor Daniel Harris stood on the steps of City Hall, addressing a crowd of protesters chanting for justice. His voice, steady and resonant, carried the weight of a man who had spent years fighting for his community. A black man in a position of power, he knew the eyes on him were not just those of his supporters, but also those waiting for him to falter. At 42, Daniel had seen enough to know that change was a battle, not a gift. The protest was peaceful, a call for police reform after another young black man had been killed during a traffic stop. Daniel, in his crisp navy suit, spoke of unity, of accountability, of a future where trust could be rebuilt. The crowd hung on his words, their signs bobbing like waves in a restless sea. But then, a ripple of unease spread. A young officer, Officer Ryan Keller, barely a year on the force, pushed through the crowd, his face pale and his hand twitching toward his holster. "Step back, Mayor," Keller shouted, his voice cracking with adrenaline. The crowd gasped as he drew his gun, aiming it squarely at Daniel's chest. The world seemed to slow, the chants fading into a low hum. Daniel's heart pounded, but his eyes locked onto Keller's, searching for the man behind the badge. The officer's hands trembled, his knuckles white around the grip. Fear, not hatred, drove him, fear of the moment, fear of the crowd, fear of a narrative he didn't fully understand. 60 seconds. That's all it would take. Daniel raised his hands slowly, not in surrender, but in a gesture of calm. "Ryan," he said, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. He knew the officer's name, knew every officer's name in Crestwood. It was his way of reminding them they were part of the community, not above it. "You don't want to do this." The crowd held its breath, some reaching for their phones, others stepping back. But then, a figure emerged from the throng, a woman, gray-haired and frail, her eyes fierce with purpose. Mrs. Evelyn Carter, a retired schoolteacher who had taught Daniel in 5th grade and, unbeknownst to most, Keller in 7th. She shuffled forward, her cane tapping the pavement, and placed herself between the mayor and the gun. "Ryan Michael Keller," she said, her voice trembling not with fear, but with authority. "You put that gun down right now. You're better than this." The crowd froze, stunned by her audacity. Keller's eyes widened, his grip faltering as memories of her classroom, her lessons on courage, on right and wrong flooded back. The gun wavered, then lowered slightly. Daniel seized the moment. "Ryan, look at me," he said, stepping forward, his voice steady but urgent. "You're not the enemy here. Neither am I. We're Crestwood. We fix this together." His words weren't just for Keller, but for everyone watching, a plea to break the cycle of fear and mistrust. Keller's shoulders slumped, the gun dropping to his side. Before he could react, 2 senior officers, alerted by the commotion, rushed forward. In a swift, practiced motion, they disarmed him, pinning him to the pavement. The crowd erupted, some cheering, others shouting in anger, but Daniel raised a hand for silence. "Enough," he called out, his voice booming. He knelt beside Keller, who lay stunned, his cheek against the cold asphalt. "This isn't the end for you, Ryan," Daniel said softly. "It's a chance to learn." The crowd watched, their anger softening into something else, hope, perhaps. Mrs. Carter leaned on her cane, nodding at Daniel with pride. The moment wasn't just about disarming a gun, but about disarming fear, about choosing dialogue over destruction. As the police led Keller away, Daniel stood, addressing the crowd once more. "This is our city," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "We don't win by tearing each other down. We win by lifting each other up." The crowd roared, their signs raised higher, their chants now for unity. 60 seconds had passed, but their impact would echo for years. Daniel Harris, a mayor who faced a gun and chose words over weapons, had shown Crestwood what leadership truly meant. Mrs. Carter's courage had reminded them of the power of community, and Ryan Keller, flat on the pavement, had a chance to become something more than his mistake. "Yendi,"